Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild podcast, a podcast all about the experiences and memories that playing games with friends and families can create. As always, we have our hosts James, Nathan, Dan, and Peter, and for this episode we will be interviewing special guest Jason Panella.
Yeah, so my name is Jason Panella, as Peter so introduced me, and I am organizing a new convention in Pittsburgh, in the greater Pittsburgh metro, I'd say, called PGH Con. And originally and when I say we, I mean me and two other folks who are helping me. We were planning on having our first event this summer, but we had to cancel it, obviously, for pandemic reasons. And we decided to shift it online. So this is kind of new for us. I mean, we're all experienced con goers, and we all have different skill sets, and including some event planning and so forth. But we wanted to try to do a new con closer to Pittsburgh. And there have been some really good ones in the past, but we thought we would try, stick our toes in the water. And basically, one thing that's cool about doing an online con is it takes out some of the physical limitations that you have with a actual face-to-face convention. So you never know, you could have a zillion tables of RPGs and board games at what normally would have been a small con. So I think one thing that's exciting is we wanted to try to bring in some of the folks from the Pittsburgh area, people who are veteran gamers, people who are new to gaming, people who are new to online gaming, and also a lot of people that we're connected with sort of around the world have shown some interest as well. And there have been people signing up from Singapore, from California, from England. So far, so good.
Yeah, I got a question for you, if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess my first question for you is, why this kind of con? I mean, obviously not why now, because obviously you weren't planning for there to be a pandemic. But yeah, why this kind of con? Where are you coming from?
When you say this kind of con, can you...
My understanding is that its focus is on RPGs and board games, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of RPGs going on in this area. I know this. Not so much board games. So
yeah, okay. So that's a really good question. So I feel like this is also a good way to sort of reflect on and think about sort of like the Pittsburgh gaming scene.
Right.
And when I say Pittsburgh too, I mean like broad Western Pennsylvania, the whole metro, all the surrounding like 11 counties. The gaming scene has been booming over the past 10 years. I've been going to the various Butler tabletop conventions the past few years, and I think they do an awesome job, and I love them. They're very RPG focused. I mean, I'm a huge RPG player myself, which I love that. But Pittsburgh used to have a number of sort of medium-sized conventions over the past like 20 years, and they've all kind of come and gone for a variety of reasons, and I won't get into that. But there hasn't been anything sort of closer to the actual city of Pittsburgh in a while, in about 5 years at least. And I thought there's like the gaming scene in Pittsburgh is huge, and it just keeps growing every year. I've gone to a lot of board game meetups. A lot of the groups are just doing an awesome job, and I thought this would be really cool to try to get a ball rolling to actually have I don't want to say a big con. I mean, I'm not trying to make Origins 2.0. It would be cool to have a moderate sized con that the community can sort of gather around and just meet new gamers in the area. Like, I feel like the one thing I do see is that there are lots of people who know each other in the Pittsburgh area and game together. But on the same token, there are a lot of sort of disparate groups that don't know that other ones exist. And that's actually been my experience with a lot of sort of D&D organized play stuff. There's a lot of people doing Adventurers League play in the Pittsburgh area, but none of them even know that the other groups exist at all. And I mean, maybe they want it that way, but I thought it'd be really cool, even in that sense, just to sort of get some of them together to play, because I've bounced around to some of those various groups, and there's a lot of really awesome human beings to play games with, and it'd just be cool to bring everybody together. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good fielding there. I have to agree with your assessment of the gaming map of the Pittsburgh area. There seems to be a lot of smaller groups that are kind of self-isolated.
Yeah.
Like I'm familiar with Cause up here in Butler, of course, and I've heard about Gas, and there's this whole vampire LARP community that has shown up in Causes in the past, back when they were still in the hotel before they moved to their new venue. So
yeah, and you mentioned too, like you spoke specifically about role-playing games. I mean, I think I'm more of a role-playing game player than board game player, but I am still like a pretty avid board game player. And the board gaming scene in Pittsburgh too has really blown up. There's a couple groups like Western PA Gaming. They do a meetup I think they're even trying to do virtual meetups now with COVID, but they were doing like an actual meetup at the Settlers Ridge in Robinson every Friday night, and they would get 40, 50, 60 people meeting in sort of their eatery area, and that just blew me away. And like, there's some really cool people, and I know they've even even mentioned like, hey, why is there no convention? And then I thought, oh yeah, maybe somebody should start a convention in Pittsburgh.
Because that's always the question: who's going to be the person to step up, or the group to step up and take the reins of it?
Yeah, and admittedly, I'm a follower, not a leader. But this is one of those cases where I just woke up one morning and thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. So here I am.
So you mentioned some of the other groups in the area. I know Dan mentioned GASP, the Gaming Association for Southwestern Pennsylvania. We've got COS, Circle of Swords up here in Butler. Are you reaching out to some of the organizers for those groups to just let them know about this con? I mean, what kind of grassroots kind of growth are you trying to get for this first PGH Con?
Yeah, so I have been in touch with some of the other groups, and as have my two other friends who are helping as well. And one of my friends actually has really good ties with several of the big kind of board game groups in the city, and he's been putting feelers out there. And I mean, people are pretty interested. I think right now, with the switch online, I have been talking to a few people. It's still 2 months out, which seems
sooner than you think.
It's sooner than you think, exactly. And I keep thinking like, oh, it's 2 months out. We need to have everything planned. But a lot of people are like, it's 2 months out. You know, we're still kind of like quarantining a little bit. That seems like an eternity away. So it's like that weird, it's really close, but it's also not really close. But I would rather play it safe and try to get the word out as far and as fast as possible. But yeah, I am still doing a lot of work. I'm a busy person and I'm trying to juggle a lot of different things at once. But I have talked to some friends like Ron Ramel and Dave Schnur are kind of spreading the word a bit on their end. And GASP, I have yet to reach out to GASP, but that's something I plan on doing because I really respect them. And I really miss GASPCon, which was kind of like the last convention Pittsburgh had that sadly stopped about 5 years ago. And I want to try to get them connected, but so work is happening, but it'll happen.
So what kind of responses you've been getting from the gaming community? What does your event schedule look like? How many people do you have signed up?
Oh yeah, so we moved on. I mean, I didn't even really make it live per se until about a week ago, but right now we have about 20 people signed up, and a lot of them are people I've made connections with who are like not from Pennsylvania who are interested. So I mean, that is genuinely like a struggle. I think sometimes breaking into some of the more local groups, and especially I should say that some people who were really excited for the actual face-to-face convention, I think there might be a little bit of hurdle there for playing online, especially for board games. A lot of people who are more board game focused players, I feel like there are a lot of tools to play board games online, but they're maybe not as easy to sort of dive into as a lot of online RPG tools are, like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or anything like that. So I think that, I mean, admittedly, I think it's a hurdle maybe trying to get some of the board game players. And a lot of people are interested, but they just haven't pulled the trigger and signed up. And I should mention, it is free. We're not, since we don't have to worry about actually covering the event space. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we were originally working with La Roche University, who they have a really nice space actually, and they were really, really good to work with, but they canceled all the events, and they're not charging anybody who had stuff planned originally. Since we don't have to worry about that, it's free. We have like a suggested donation mentioned to a local charity, but it's free. So I mean, even I will say this: if you're listening and you're on the fence, feel free to sign up and check things out. It's not going to cost you anything. And even if you're hesitant about learning how to play stuff online, I mean, I am a Luddite and I don't understand technology, and I've been able to figure out some of the stuff. So you might be able to as well if you're a listener. We're only doing 2 days, just because again, being a new con organizer, I didn't want to do one day because I thought that's basically just, I don't know, that's just like a normal game meetup. But I didn't want to do a full weekend just because I thought that'd be too draining, especially for somebody who is occasionally socially anxious. So we're doing 2 days. It's July 17th and July 18th. That's a Friday and a Saturday, and it's going to be all day, both days. I know some people have work on Friday, but one of the reasons why we picked Friday is I know a lot of people like to take a day off of work to go to cons, and I'm one of those people. So it's one of those, long weekend treats, I guess. But yeah, so right now I am, as far as game schedule stuff goes, I'm slowly plugging events into the calendar that I know a lot of people, like some people were signed up for when we had the physical, like face-to-face convention, and it's all been like Adventurous League stuff. I also am planning on running some Savage Worlds one-shots because I'm a big fan of that system, and I have a few connections sort of in the Adventurous League community, like one admin who was from Pittsburgh originally. She's considering running like an author only thing, which is pretty cool. So, but aside from that, I'm like, if you're listening and you're interested, I would love for event submissions. If you want to run any other organized play stuff like Pathfinder or Shadowrun missions, please do. If you want to run a weird one shot from like that cool new RPG you just got, go for it. This is your time. If you want to run a board game event, there's lots of like, I know Tabletopia I think is free, and Board Game Simulator is relatively cheap, and a lot of people use those. So please submit an event.
What about the scope? I mean, are you looking at workshops or panels at all, or is that not on the table for this time around?
I think it's not on the table for this time around. And I wanted to intentionally start small and just make it game focused, and maybe eventually roll into workshop and panels, which I think those are really cool. Those are really good things for a gaming community. But there are ones that I kind of wanted to keep my focus narrow initially just to get some more experience. Yeah, I'm one of those people who I sometimes get too ambitious and things don't go well as a result. So yeah, start a little focused.
I think having it board game and RPG centered is good too, because a lot of the online conventions are only panels.
Yeah, exactly. Only panels or, a lot of panels, a lot of kind of workshop, or even if you're just thinking of games, they're only RPG. There's some really kind of bigger online cons. I was just looking at their offerings, and it's 18 pages of RPG events, and then one board game with one person signed up, and that just makes me sad. So I'm hoping that more people can actually schedule some board game stuff.
So with stuff like that, where you're talking about the different board game options online, I'm assuming then the person who wants to run a game for this con we're gonna have to put together a little paragraph about what the game is and what format they're gonna be offering it in. I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I think that's also going to be for people who are running RPG games as well, that they can choose whatever platform. I mean, I know, again, Roll20 is free. There's stuff you can buy on there, obviously, but it's a free browser-based platform. Fantasy Grounds costs money, but I know a lot of people use it. I know people use Zoom or just Discord in general to play RPGs. I will say, though, if you are considering running a game, try to make it so that the players don't have to
purchase anything.
Purchase anything. That would be ideal. For instance, I have the Fantasy Ground full license, so that means that I paid money, but people who join my game don't have to pay any money. They do have to download something, but it's that's free. Yeah, it's free. And so people who are running games they'll actually post what virtual tabletop they're using, so people who are signed up for can prep ahead of time, because ideally they'll have that stuff ready before they come in, so they don't spend the first half an hour actually trying to download and log in and everything. So, but I think closer to the day of the con, we'll just send emails out to sort of let everybody know, hey, just make sure you're prepared. That kind of.
So what kind of this is just me, my brain goes to logistics on a lot of things. And so what kind of check-in procedures are you thinking for this? Is this something where everyone's going to get onto a single platform to check in and then get told where to go from there?
Well, I think that, that's a really good question. I mean, and that's something that you see at a face-to-face convention, that's sort of mustering before different sessions, things like that. I think having it online makes it a little bit more freeform. We did create a Discord server, I should say, that we'll have for the convention, so people can, we'll have different rooms where they can actually just meet and chat and sort of organize things as they want, and even just chat with friends during a game session maybe. And it's also a place too where if somebody has a concern or something like that, they can actually contact one of the organizers.
Nice.
As well, yeah. So we want to actually make sure that we have ways for folks to get a hold of us if they need to.
Is that something? Are you looking for volunteers, people who they're going to just be overseeing those channels, where the support channels and stuff like that?
I would love that. It's one of those things where at the end of the day, if nobody volunteers, I'll probably end up doing a lot of the stuff. But hey, so please volunteer. That would be great. And I mean, again, even this, just going back to volunteering for sort of keeping an eye on the channels, then also just volunteering for hosting a game or something like that too. So I am talking with, and this is not set in stone, but I am talking with some companies to try to get some swag of some kind to give to game masters or board game hosts. We'll see what I actually come up with, but I'm putting feelers out. So
doesn't hurt to ask for free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever.
Yeah. I will say, it seems like some companies are more willing to give stuff to people running. I actually had a lot of stuff lined up for the face-to-face con, but some of it's kind of up in the air now, just with it being online. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
So you should probably talk about where you can find information about the con and where you can go to apply to run events or if you want to volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I feel like there's a few places. So we are on Facebook. Type in PGH Con. You will see the very nice logo that my friend Mike Rubino designed. And he is one of the wonderful comedians in Pittsburgh who's behind Knights of the Arcade and a talented graphic designer. But he designed our awesome logo. And so we're on Facebook. We originally were using tabletop events for the face-to-face con, and it's a fantastic organizing platform, but they recently made a change where you can't have free events. So that's why, at least for this online event, we switched to Warhorn. So if you go to warhorn.net and you search for PGH Con, and PGH, in case you didn't know, is an abbreviation for Pittsburgh. So if you type that in, we'll be there, and you can go in and you can read a little bit about the con. We have our code of conduct up as well, and a little bit of information. I will be probably adding to that as time goes on, and you can join up. And once there's more events plugged in, I'm going to unleash the people who have signed up to be in the con, and they can actually sign up for events and so forth. The tabletop event page has redirect links in the actual article to go to the online con, like the Warhorn links. So if somebody's interested and they kind of stumble upon the tabletop event page, they should be able to find the Warhorn page pretty easily there. And we closed all registration there too, so somebody can't absentmindedly sign up.
Just to change tacks a little bit, what got you into the playing board games and RPGs?
Yeah, sure. So I got into RPGs. I'm in my 30s, and I grew up in the era where the tail end of that era where RPGs were evil or considered evil, and that kind of was like the cultural vibe where I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. And my parents wouldn't let me get any sort of fantasy related stuff, but they were into Star Wars, and I was into Star Wars too as a kid. So I bought the West End Games version of Star Wars, which is a fantastic game, and I couldn't find anybody to play with. So I basically tried to role play with myself like all the time, and I did different voices, and I basically just like moved around and rolled dice and made thousands of characters, I think. So I got into the hobby that way, and then soon through high school I got into like Shadowrun and BattleTech, and from there in college I got into some of the more hobby style board games, and now I'm playing lots of games.
Yeah, that Star Wars RPG was my first RPG I ever played.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
I love that one. Never knew that you could run out of fuel in Star Wars until I played that.
Oh, exactly.
Although we were young enough, we didn't really read the rules very well, and we didn't really play it that well, but it was still fun.
Oh yeah, and I will say, just to sort of like finish that thought too, I kind of got away from RPGs in like right out of college. I played Deadlands a lot in college, but after that I kind of just fell away from the hobby a little bit. But it was one of those like perfect timing kind of things. I was working at a place for a really long time, and my position was cut, and they sent me home early, which was a bummer. And I got home, and the brand new player's guide for D&D 5th edition was waiting on my porch in a package. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to get back into this hobby. So I've been playing in the Pittsburgh area now for the past, 5 years, I think?
I was going to ask that. So I know a lot of people that I've talked to in the area who play games or RPGs, whatever form of game they play. They've been playing for years. Or they played when they were younger and then took some time off and then came back to it. So like me though, like I'm 35 and I didn't start really playing games consistently until like 5 years ago. So I feel like I'm fairly new to it still, but it's so great that in today's society we're hearing from so many people who love games and why they love games, and the community, at least from what I can tell, is always excited about getting new people involved. So like for someone like me who was 30 at the time, it was just like I had a plethora of people ready to take me under their wing and be like, learn these games and play these games and let me show you how to. And so like that's a great thing about it. And so that's another reason why I'm excited about these online cons, hoping that it can just again broaden the appeal for more people to join in. Like you said at the beginning, the logistics of space is not an issue here. Now, but you said there are some people like around the world even signed up. So timing might be a little bit of an issue there for some people, but no, I just think it's super exciting to see a lot of people getting into it and welcoming other people into it as well. So
yeah, and I think that's a really good way to put it. I think getting into D&D, especially like how I did and the way I did, it was different because when I used to play RPGs growing up, it was more like, you know, who can I sucker into playing this game with me one time and then I'll never play it again. But with D&D, there was already a pretty vibrant community of people who'd been like playtesting D&D Next, and I was friends with a lot of them, so I got into it, and I realized it was like I have pretty bad like social anxiety too, and D&D really helped with that. And like as a player, eventually I thought, hey, what if I start DMing? And then I start DMing at cons, and it's like this is stuff that's just helped me as a human being. And just through doing that too, I've seen D&D just like a lot of people coming into the hobby who have never played games like this before, and how welcoming people are, and especially like in the Pittsburgh area, like people are always like open arms about newcomers into the hobby, either role-playing games or board games, and I love that. And that's something I'm hoping with this convention too, like we can, even if online in our first year, we can do that, maybe even bring some people who have never played before into the hobby. I think that would be really cool.
That's always pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think there's going to be a time issue. There's going to be a bunch of gamers online. Games will go on all night.
Yeah, there's a I do a lot of Adventures League stuff on PlayByPosts, which I've actually done for a lot because it's my background's in writing, so it was a good way to kind of like get my flex my writing muscles and also play D&D. And I've kind of bumped into a lot of people from this like international community who do PlayByPosts as well, and I've become friends with them, and like a number of them have signed up already. So there's one guy, Dave, from I think he's from Singapore. He signed up. He was actually like the second person to sign up, which was awesome. So he was saying like he might even DM a game or two, but he has to like figure out the timing issue because I know there's definitely a big time difference there. So
I was gonna say that was a little bit of a segue there with you talking about flexing your creativity and your writing muscles. So not everybody on the podcast knows, but having met and talked with you a few times, you're not just a player, you're a creator.
Oh yeah, I guess I am. Yeah, so my background's in writing, and I kind of like took a chance, and for CosCon a few years ago in Butler, Pennsylvania, I asked Dave, who runs the con, I said, hey, we do a lot of Adventures League stuff. What would you think about us doing like an original convention adventure? He said, yeah, it's cool. You know, just as long as you figure out how to do it. So from that point on, I kind of like made all the contacts and sent lots of emails and, you know, sent them a pitch, and they accepted it. So I had a adventure debut at CosCon in 2019? So it was the first D&D adventure I wrote, and I wrote it with my good friend Jim, who's from Ohio, and we basically made it a homage to the Alien franchise. So I won't say anything more because it, you know, don't want to spoil in case people didn't play it. So people really liked it, which was really cool to see. And I know Peter ran it a bunch, I think. So I think he probably doesn't want to hear any more about it. But
no, I want to hear all about it because it was a fantastic adventure, and I'm looking forward to more things that I know you're working on another one right now.
Yeah. So I also had another adventure I wrote for CosCon this year that since CosCon got canceled, the adventure did not actually premiere there. So I will be running it at PGH Con, and I'm actually working on a follow-up adventure that I'm really hoping I finish in the next 2 months for PGH Con as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's fun.
Good
yeah,
stuff.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be D&D, there's gonna be all sorts of other stuff. There's gonna be board games, but for your very first online con, there's also gonna be brand new adventures that nobody else will have ever had the opportunity to play. So if you get in on PGH Con, you might get to play a brand new adventure, which I think is awesome.
Which is pretty cool. And for all of you out there listening, if you have an original adventure for any game system that you would like to have at PGHCon, please sign on up, run it.
So what is your favorite board game?
So I think my favorite, that's actually a hard question. My favorite, and this is one I play maybe once every 5 years, is the board game Android. And this is not Netrunner. This is they made a board game called Android, Fantasy Flight Games, that got mixed reviews, but it kind of like, it pushed all the right buttons for me. I really loved that game. There was something like very film noir and narrative about it. And I think nobody wants to play that game with me anymore, but I love it. But aside from that, I really like Steffenfeld games. I really like Innovation, the card game. I really like Five Tribes a lot. I really like Yokohama a lot as well. I haven't really, just the past year or so, I haven't played as many new games as I usually do just because of general busyness, but try to pick up new stuff as I can. Oh, Wingspan. I'm a huge fan of Wingspan because I love birds. I'm kind of an amateur birder, and it just relaxes me. It's a fun game too.
So you're in good company. James is a huge fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Steffenfeld.
Yeah.
I love Yokohama. I also love Five Tribes. I've played so much Five Tribes. We actually ran out of a scoring pad.
That's awesome. What's your favorite Feld game, out of curiosity?
I have to think on that for a minute.
Okay.
Well, you can't give him a difficult question, then duck out of your question.
That's a hard. I mean,
Yeah, the question is like
for a fan, it's a difficult question. If you ask me what my favorite Feld game, I'd be like, name me games that Feld does, because I'm not familiar with it.
Like for me, it's going to be Cottage Garden because I played it the most with my wife, or I got to think about it. But what's your favorite?
I think my favorite Steffenfeld is probably Bruges. I really like Castles of Burgundy as well. So, and Bora Bora, which is one that doesn't get a lot of love. That's a good game.
And if you like Castles of Burgundy, well, actually they're really not the same. Actually, they're not the same in any way. But I have Bora Bora over there. I love Castles of Burgundy. I like Bora Bora. I think Bora Bora, as long as I think it is a very underrated game. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's good.
I think his most popular game is going to be Castles of Burgundy. I think.
Yeah. Oh, by far, that one is because people either love him or hate him. But I feel like that's the game that people don't like. Feld like that game.
Yeah, and that is a quintessential point salad game.
Oh yes.
I didn't get the. Did you get the new edition of it? With the.
No, I didn't. It looks really nice though.
Yeah, I was debating getting it just to get the new boards you can't get because they have the board expansions.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And you can't get them otherwise because they're like $1 zillion.
I'm looking at those boards right now on Google.
Yeah, there's a bunch too. It comes with like 23 boards. It comes with a lot of boards. And anyone that hasn't played Castles of Burgundy, beyond the start board, the boards actually make the game because they make you think a lot based on what strategy you want to do.
Oh yeah, these boards. I know what you're talking about.
It also, there was a expansion that I never played for Castle of Burgundy that comes in the second edition also.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I know they did a bunch of like really little expansions that were like promos, or you could get them on Board Game Geek, but I don't have any of those. They look really fun though.
Yeah, I'm going to probably say Castles of Burgundy is my favorite Steffenfeld game.
Nice. Hey, so just so you know, Peter Best just signed up for PGH Con.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna go on Friday. So I'll be there for Friday.
Awesome, yeah. If, even if people come for like one session for something, that's awesome. So thank you. Thank you all future attendees.
That's an interesting thank you. Thank you all future attendees. Yeah, that's very forward thinking and very encompassing and very welcoming. So, well,
yeah, exactly. That includes all the people who signed up already. This is just like, the convention hasn't happened yet. And
No, you got to take this to 11, man. This includes everybody who's going to attend the con 2 or 3 years from now who don't know it yet.
Okay, so I can remember the name of that game that I like from Steffenfeld. And actually, the other game I mentioned was Uwe Rosenberg, not Steffenfeld. Yeah. But, it's actually called... it's German. It was called Rum and Pirates.
Oh, that's a really early game of his, isn't it?
It's actually really good, too. But I couldn't remember that. But yeah, the other game I said was Uwe Rosenberg, which is, I have a shrine of Uwe Rosenberg over there.
Literally.
Pretty awesome,
Literally.
too.
It's a shrine, yeah.
I mean, I like Castles of Burgundy. Bora Bora, I think James got that from me because I wasn't terribly interested in it.
I was going to say, yeah, Bora Bora was one I picked up on some, like, clearance sale for $10, and for me personally, that was really good $10 that I spent.
Get to play that Rum and Pirates game. I think you'll like it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on my wish list here.
You can tell it's one of his earlier games, but it's still a lot of fun. It has a pirate theme, so Dan should like it.
I don't like all games just because they have a pirate theme.
You say this. I'm kidding.
He made a game called Pillars of the Earth, but it's Builder's Duel. I never knew they'd made a 2-player version of Pillars of the Earth.
Yeah, I think that's another old one of his as well.
I do really like Pillars of the Earth, so a 2-player one might actually be interesting.
Oh, he's made a lot of games.
He did, yeah. He's very tall, too.
I've heard that. Oh, wow, yeah, there's a picture of him with Tom Vassell, who... I've seen Tom Vassell in person, and he's a pretty tall guy. And Feld's like a good 7 inches taller than him here. Yeah,
actually, I haven't played Aquasphere. Have you played that one?
I have not.
That one and Trajan are the two I'm missing.
I have Trajan. It's a very good game.
Yeah, I played Treacher. Yeah, it's a very interesting game. That is a good one. I do like the Mancala action mechanism.
That's my favorite part of that game too. It's really there's a lot of strategy involved, I think, but it's also like there's something just enjoyable about kind of putting the little pieces around the Mancala.
It's definitely a game you have to plan as many turns ahead as you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason, I was just going to mention that when we first met Peter, we demanded a story of dragon slaying from him. He gave us a story about pillbox goblins. So, do you have a story of dragon slaying for us?
Me like personal, like stuff that happened within my lifetime.
Do you have a really cool personal story of a character or even like an NPC you were running, maybe?
Oh gosh, I feel like at this point I DM more than I. Well, yeah, you said NPC, but I feel like my players' exploits have been really cool. So if you don't mind me talking about some cool stuff that happened with my players.
Yeah. Give us a cool story. I want a cool story.
So, this isn't like one necessarily cool thing, but I thought it was kind of an achievement. As I mentioned before, I do a lot of play-by-post RPG playing, and it's primarily Dungeons and Dragons Adventures League stuff. And I got a group of players, and this was kind of like a dream team of players with the group, the kind of like pool of people I play with. But what am I saying? They're all awesome players, but this particular group was like they just gelled together really well, and we ran through Tomb of Annihilation, the whole hardcover. And with play by post, it takes a lot longer than like a sort of sit down and play for 4 hour kind of thing. Like, so we started right when the book was released. The group from the beginning, their characters were just all like so wacky, and they all had great personalities. And over I think it was like 2.5 years of play, they finally ended up, again, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't played it, but they made it to the end and they were successful. About half the party had died, and a couple of them permanently. And at that point, the characters had bonded so much that it was like just devastating. Some of them died like in really unbelievably heroic ways that because of D&D, like it was, part just awesome player craftiness and part how the dice rolled. And there's just some really heroic, even tragic moments too. And they managed to wrap that campaign up. But they wanted to keep going. So I'm now running some like, higher level tier 3 Adventures League stuff for them. And their characters are just like, they're so powerful at this point. They're all like level 14. 15, and one of them is riding a dinosaur around everywhere. But it's just like it's really cool to sort of see that over the course of years, you could actually go to these forum threads and read through them almost like a novel. And there's just some really good writing, and it just blew me away, like the creativity of tabletop players. It was awesome. And like I'm proud to call all of them friends as well.
So hopefully this isn't a big spoiler, but if I remember right, Tomb of Annihilation, is that the one with the like moving room puzzle?
Oh yes, so there are lots of puzzles because the tomb itself is basically a 7-level death trap full of like tons of insane puzzles.
The entire dungeon. Yeah, the entire dungeon's a kill box. The entire dungeon is a kill box.
Yeah, and it is just the fact that some of the characters even, a lot of them died there, but the fact that some of them even survived, like with, all of them had single-digit hit points in some of the rooms, it was just unbelievable. So yeah, again, this might not have been like a single cool event, but it just was sort of a bigger, really cool to see what RPGs can do, especially in a like not traditional format. Also, some other players, they killed a dragon recently in another game I was running, so there's dragon slaying, like literally.
Okay, I'm glad we got to the slaying of dragons.
Yeah.
Pete, take notes. You need to have slain a dragon in order to obtain your cred.
I was gonna say.
It doesn't say what type. It could just be like a baby dragon, and they just
yeah. There's no footnotes here. You've even killed the dragon, and you have it.
I will not reveal.
I've never in D&D killed a dragon. I've had players who have killed a dragon, but I have not killed a dragon.
Right. Well, okay. So here's the other side of the coin. You get your chop as a GM by ruthlessly killing a player, and not just because they did something stupid.
And I have to say, I'm the kind of DM, like, especially when I DM at cons, like, I know players like different things, but I'm the kind of DM where I just want to laugh and have fun with friends, and I'll try to make it as challenging as I can, but I also don't want to like cackle and have a TPK, but there are some DMs who do that, and I think that's totally cool. But I will say the first time that I killed first time I killed a character, but then first time I killed multiple characters in one session, there was something very magical about that.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I have not done that yet. I think I've only killed one character so far, and it was at a convention.
Did you feel bad?
I did. I felt
bad after my first.
I felt bad, but it made it better that it was a heroic move by the player, and so the player was totally all in on it, and then the entire crew loved that character. So at the end of the session, they were all like, "Oh yeah, all the rewards that we got, that's gold, and we're turning it in to resurrect this person."
That's awesome, and that's the kind of story too that they'll probably remember.
Oh, absolutely.
The rest of their lives. So yeah.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
It's super cool.
Oh, the game I looked up? Another Uwe Rosenberg game.
which one was it?
Bonanza.
Oh, I love that. Was actually one of the first border card games that I got into back in 2006 or something. Yeah, that one's really fun.
It's cool how open it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've played Bonanza only once, but it was a cool game. It might. Well, okay, no, it's not the only Uwe Rosenberg I discovered I liked, because I don't mind Gates of Loyang either.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Oh, that's one I haven't played. That's on my definitely want to play list.
I have Feast for Odin sitting over there.
Well, that's a good game.
I have not played it yet.
It is a long game too.
Yes. I love Agricola. We keep going back to Agricola. Every time we go, I just want to play that.
Yeah, it's such a good game.
Yeah, James gets mad at me every time I say I'm sick of Uwe Rosenberg.
He's lying. He's dead to me.
I have played a lot of his games, though. I've played many, many times, and
I still think Agricola is his best game, but I'm hoping Feast for Odin surpasses it. We'll see.
Yeah, I really like his. You mentioned like Cottage Garden. I like some of his smaller. I don't want to say lighter, but I guess they are lighter compared to Feast for Odin. I think those are really, really good games.
I like Cottage Garden because Patchwork I think was too light,
mm-hmm.
and Cottage Garden set it up to be a lot more dynamic and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You could pretty much math out or Patchwork. Takes the fun out, but yeah. Definitely gonna have you up sometime. We'll have to do it. Uwe Rosenberg marathon.
That'd be fun. That'd be awesome.
We'll get 2 games done in 12 hours.
Or something like that, yeah.
So,
mm-hmm.
I like a game where, like Agricola, when I get back into Agricola and play it, I have to play it a while before I start bringing in the cards. Because you have to get to that point where you can actually get your not starve and max out your animals and all that stuff before you bring in the cards, because cards are just crazy.
It's been a while since I played that, but I know Rosenberg, he kind of builds off a lot of his games. He sort of like I don't say copies, but he takes the framework of one game and sort of moves it in and tries to improve on that. But I have played a lot of Caverna in the past few years, and that's a really good game too. I think I like Agricola more, but Caverna's, they're similar in a lot of ways.
I like Caverna, but I definitely like Agricola a lot more.
Yeah.
And he does take mechanisms. You could tell from Patchwork to Cottage Garden too. I think the other one's Indian Summer, and how he keeps progressively just working on those. He definitely gets a mechanism, just goes with it. And polynomials, what the hell?
Exactly. I feel like he has one other one in that series too. I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure there's definitely 3. I'm pretty sure there might be a 4th. I think you might be right.
Spring Meadow, is that?
Could be.
Spring Meadow is one that came out 2 years ago. Indian Summer, Cottage Garden,
and then Spring Meadow. Okay.
Yeah,
because Spring Meadow's after Indian Summer, then, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of his most recent games.
Yeah, I didn't go too much past that line. Once I got to Cottage Garden, I'm like, I'm good.
Sure. Yeah.
But if he comes out with something after Feast for Odin, after I play Feast for Odin, I'll get it, or probably. Regardless of playing Feast for Odin. Just bring out all those trays for that game, and they're like, let's do Agricola.
Yeah, here's another tray, and another.
Yeah, there's rules. Yeah, games have rules.
I was at a game day with some friends, and I was playing another game, but there was a full complement of people playing Caverna with some new players, and they happened to also be playing with somebody who analyzed every possible move in the game. So they somehow dragged these new board game players into a game that took 8 hours, and I was just cringing, kind of watching from the corner, and I thought, there's just so many pieces everywhere.
Well, Caverna, I think, is one of the games. I think he made a large mistake on the player count on that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is. I think it's
should not
8.
have played the 7 or 8 that it did. Yeah,
something
it's
like
7 or
that.
8.
Do you ever hate your life? Do the max player count in Caverna?
It is 7 players, which some people like that, and that's awesome. I will not play it with that many.
Don't. I think it shines around 4 or 5. Probably 4 is the best. Yeah, I don't know. You have to have a good mix with it too. So if you have an AP player, then you have experienced players and new players. The experienced players are probably going to crush them.
Yeah.
So the AP player is going to take the wrong route and not win.
I guess I got one more con question that I just thought of. I know you've got the Facebook and you've got the web page and you've reached out to these local gaming groups. Are you taking any other avenues for the promotion angle?
Yeah. So, and this is something where I have to, because the switch to the online kind of happened spur of the moment, just about a week and a half ago. So I'm still trying to catch up. We actually did have the face-to-face con was on some pages, some other pages that promoted cons, part of their lists. And I'm going to have to go and probably just tell them to update with online. So yeah, so it's the word's out on some web pages. I know there have been some Facebook groups that have been focusing on organized play and online cons. So I'll probably be posting it there as well. I am just kind of want to tie up a few loose ends with the actual Warhorn site before I post it, because I actually want to get more events posted on there just so people have something to actually sign in for.
Yeah, it helps the con goer when they look up your con to see a selection of events available.
Yeah,
they don't see a selection of events available. They sort of start asking questions in the back of their head.
Yeah, exactly. So and I know I've mentioned this a few times, but with I feel like I'm kind of an easygoing person in a lot of ways. But if people want to run things, I don't want to tell them what to run. So if people submit stuff that they want to run, that's awesome. But in the meantime, I'm plugging in stuff that I know that I can get DMs for, or worst case scenario, I'll just DM these things myself. But so yeah, I'm trying to plug that stuff in and then go from there. And then hopefully more things will trickle in as well. And I think some of the board game, for people who register board games ahead of time, it might be that special game that isn't it might be a once a year kind of game that somebody's planning. I have a feeling that if people are meeting up to play games, some of the stuff is going to be spur of the moment in the Discord channel. Somebody might say hey, want to play Wingspan online, and then they can get a few players and then hop in without actually planning it. So I think that's why hopefully we can get some board game things actually on the schedule, but I think a lot of the board game playing will be for the moment.
Yeah, a little bit more ad hoc.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good question. Thank you.
No problem. I'm not sure how useful it would be to you for this year, but I'll give you a line for maybe next year when you do have a physical location.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to co-promote your con with maybe another show. I work for New Dimension Comics. We have this comic con that we've run once a year in the Pittsburgh area. There's a non-zero amount of crossover there. The show promoter is John Engel. And before the COVID pandemic, we were going to be in the David L. Lawrence Convention Center this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that actually would be really cool. I know in some of my early promotional attempts, I was contacting a lot of local businesses just to see if they're interested in partnering or anything. And I was actually working with Phil from Game Masters in sort of the Ross Township area. We had something worked out where he was actually going to be a vendor there.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's 2 stores closer to the city than the one in Butler. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, I can. New Dimension is definitely somebody I had in my mind for the physical con when it was still happening. So next year.
Yeah, I would love to see us at least event at it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something too with next year's physical location. I'll have to check in with La Roche. La Roche is the spot we had at La Roche was really nice, but it was basically for a 100 to 150 person, which is that's a nice amount of people playing games, but there wasn't a ton of room for vendors or anything like that. It was pretty limited. So for 2021, I think we'll probably have to kind of reassess and figure out where we're going from there. But we have some time. So
yeah. No, I know how show promotion works. You finish one show and you're already planning bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we have some time, but I am already thinking about sort of the next steps for 2021.
Yeah, I was lucky. The board game conventions in my area happened right before COVID, so I actually got to go and had a lot of fun and, got a bunch of new board games.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, lucky.
My favorite thing at any convention, though, is the board game plaza or whatever, where they, people come and bring their used games to sell.
Oh, that's a blast. And that's something, too, where we, for the face-to-face con, we were actually working on having, kind of again, small because of space limitations, invitations, but like a small sort of silent auction, but that'll have to be for next year.
You mentioned that for this year there's like a donation towards a charity. What was your chosen charity?
Yeah, so our chosen charity, and I should mention up front that this is not like a demand on everybody, but and this is something we had actually planned for the face-to-face con. We wanted to support the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, and I've volunteered for them over the years, and I think they do a lot of really fantastic work. And so we thought we would continue that with the online con. We created a GoFundMe page through the food bank. Actually has like tools set up where you can create fundraisers for like small events like this. So we have something set up, and we thought like, hey, if people so feel led and want to donate to the food bank, that's awesome. They're doing some really good work in Pittsburgh with the current COVID situation. And but that said, like if somebody wanted to come to the con and donate to another like organization in Pittsburgh, there's a ton of fantastic organizations, but elsewhere around the world, like awesome, go for it.
So is there any closing comments you would like to make about PGH Con?
Yeah, so I think in closing, we're a new con. It's kind of a grassroots efforts from a few people in the area who are part of the gaming scene, and we just want to kind of give back to the community and hopefully bring a lot of gamers together and introduce some new people to the hobby. So fortunately we can't do it in person like we were hoping this year, but we do have an online iteration that it'd be awesome if you would come and join us in July.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's all about the community, whether online or in person.
Yeah, and I will say too that like for me speaking for myself, I'm just forever grateful for all the good experiences I've had with the gaming community in Pittsburgh area. So I love it, and I want to see people come together.
Yeah, well, we wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. And it was fun being here too. I appreciate you taking your time out to chat with me.
No problem. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.